I'm Rob.
And I'm Louie.
And this is the Bloody Zombies review by
Barefoot Gaming.
Okay, so before we talk about anything else, this is like two different games. This is not just one game. When you play this flat versus VR, totally different experience.
Yes, it is. When you're playing in VR, it's beautiful. It's not a full-on 3D as far as the characters being fleshed out and 3D looking. Rob mentioned they look kind of papery in that maybe like a Paper Mario type style, but looking along the road and then to the left and right was very 3D, very cool.
Paper Mario meets Double Dragon.
Yes, awesome.
So it's a side scroller. You're constantly moving from left to right. You can play with up to 4 people. Yes. They don't all have to be in VR. Some of them can be in VR, some can be without. You're not going to use your motion controllers.
And when you're playing in 2D on just your regular monitor, you will know who's playing in VR or not, because their little avatars actually have little VR headsets on.
And something I appreciate about this that a lot of arcade style, not going to call it a platformer, brawlers, a lot of arcade brawlers don't do, is they restrict you to one space. You're stuck exactly in the same screen as the other person. Here, I can keep going right where Louie stayed back left or moved further left and fought different people altogether. Eventually, there are restrictions. They throw up those red barrier walls that you can't get through. But there is quite a bit more freedom than normal. Well, and in VR, you can also see, like, up. You can see all the way to the end of the level on both sides. It's like an entire diorama laid out in front of you.
It is.
Where you can see all the different stuff that could hit. You don't necessarily see the bad guys, because they usually pop out of the ground. But you see so much more, and you can let the other person know. I really like games where you can play multiple people on the same computer. Now, here you can't in VR, or be very difficult. But I like the fact that if one person's in VR, you can have multiple other people grab controllers and just play and help them along. That being said, the 2D version is kind of
bland.
It is. It's bland. It's a very generic combat brawler. So it's like Double Dragon. And if you have fond memories of Double Dragon, that's great.
Absolutely.
But the game doesn't really hold up to a long play session nowadays. At least not for me.
But to be fair, at least you'd be able to save where you are and just go back to it, whereas Double Dragon, you're right back at the beginning again. Leveling up is a little bit strange in this game. You need to collect coins, which seem useless for quite some time, and then finally you get to enter a shop and use the coins that you've collected along the way.
And you don't share them, so whatever you pick up is yours alone. And what you buy they
are special moves, as in Y, X, 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 Y, and then you get to do some sort of slide move, slide attack into the zombies, or a big bash attack. Attacks that cause more damage.
And then as you progress to the end, you'll have like little mini bosses and then a big boss at the end that'll have a power bar that you go through multiple times. That's the gist of the game. Let's get to the actual review here. Louie, how many bloody zombie stumpy legs out of 5 would you give this game, and why?
I would give this 3.5 zombie stumpy legs out of 5 because I liked that you could pick up weapons even though they got damaged throughout the game, and I liked just the side scroller action. I miss it from when I was a kid playing on Nintendo and Super Nintendo. If it was just a 2D version, I wouldn't be able to do that, but once you're in 3D, if you have a VR unit of any kind, which it plays almost any kind of.
It does. HTC Vive, Oculus Rift, OS VR. This is available on PlayStation VR. In fact, I think it's even a port from PSVR.
It was amazing in VR. So I would give it a solid 3.5. It didn't have enough stuff to it. It did have a little bit of a storyline, which I also enjoyed, but it was right at the beginning. And then the storyline died off, but at least they tried.
There's something, yeah. So the game is priced at $17.99 Canadian, which we always kind of factor into the review a little bit. I'm going to review both the 3D and the non-3D version. For 3D, like when you're in VR, I would say this game is a 2.5 out of 5, which is less than what Louie would say. I thought it was really neat. I thought the fact that it looked like 2D, I'm going to say it again, Paper Mario meets Double Dragon. It's very cool looking around and stuff, but the combat gets a little repetitive, and I found that it really amps up in difficulty. Speaking of, there are 2 difficulty levels, normal and like a hardcore type mode. We played primarily on the hardcore mode just to get a better feel, but the game gets hard. Like, it gets quite hard as you go along. And I mean, the bosses kind of have a tell, and they'll let you know what they're going to do before they attack, but you don't have a lot of time, and it's pretty punishing, which is great for those that really enjoy a hard game. As far as a 2D version, flat game that you're even playing along with someone else, I'd give it a 1 out of 5. The art style is neat, but it's very generic. Like, this isn't something that stands out. The only thing that makes this game interesting to me at all is when you're playing it in VR. I had fun playing it on 2D only because when Louie was in, I was helping him. But as a standalone game, I wouldn't spend any time on this game in 2D on my screen. It doesn't grab me enough. There are other games that do that better, but from a VR perspective, yeah, I'd give it like a 2.5 out of 5. And that's it. That's the review for
Bloody Zombies
by Barefoot Gaming. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you again real soon. See ya.
Bye.